Hello, I'm Tyler Shattuck, and I'm the Digital Media Specialist for Concordia University, Wisconsin. And I'm here today to talk to you about web design, namely how graphic designers should jump into web design now. Web design is a language. It requires a literacy of sorts. I'm going to call it web design literacy. Digital literacy is the same thing, and I'm learning this in my educational design and technology courses. To get into this literacy, you need to find a project to work on, because projects are where you're going to go. You can spend your money on a book, and it might be helpful, but honestly, they're expensive. I bought one, and I never opened it, because it never helped me. And at that point when I bought it, didn't really know that much about web design. What I would suggest doing is just get committed and purchase hosting. And now I use HostMonster myself, but that's when I created TylerShaddock.com. And if you want to keep that URL for your life, don't let it go. Like don't lose it. Don't let other people buy it from you, because they will charge you lots of money. I know my boss got hit with one of those. So don't do it. The one thing you're going to have to learn is that the language of designing and the language of web designing are completely different dialects. They're close, but they're completely different. I mean, Adobe has Dreamweaver and Photoshop, and Photoshop and Illustrator are kind of similar, but Dreamweaver is out in its own park. The thing you're going to realize quickly when it comes to web design is that when you make a design, it's not always static. You can't just drag and drop. You have to program and tell your computer. So you better start with a programming class and get used to programming, and be amazed when your designs work at first, because it is a miracle. But once you get it working, and once you get it working with Internet Explorer, it's going to be great. The biggest reason for this is because web design is probably the one medium that's going to spread the fastest, that you're going to have the most voice, and you're going to have probably some of the most clients, because it's a highly needed industry. Now, if you really want to get serious about this, I would suggest starting with just make a static website at first, because static websites are cool. You could even Google some tutorials. They're out there, just like I googled tutorials just to learn Photoshop, and that's how I learned web design too. Web designers are great. Coders are great to have communities and forums to fix common problems. So if you can't figure out why is my image in my div not centering, you can Google it and realize that you need to set the CSS to display block and margin auto. And those things, it's literally language. Like I know that lingo only because I've spoke it for so long. And it's very useful to have as a designer. Once you learn the language, and once you learn the markup, and once you kind of learn programming, I'd suggest jumping into a WordPress. There are some people that think that WordPress isn't really serious and really isn't for designers. Now, I think that it has this rap, and if it's widespread, I don't know. I think it has this rap because it's when non-web designers use it, they think plug and play, like use a swatch and select things. You're not actually programming. It's not real design. No. WordPress requires lots of backend. It's a framework that you can do anything you want with. You can create a theme that's just completely different than anything else out there. And you do this through something called PHP. Now, once you get into HTML, which is a markup language, you're gonna start wanting to, like, if something is this, then do this. Like, I wish this page would be slightly different for this person, or if this person was on mobile, I'd like it to do this. Or the most common application of PHP is, I want to design this site, and if it's this page, I want to display this content, and if it's this page, I want to display this content. That's WordPress. WordPress is server-side markup, PHP. So what is WordPress good for, and why you should learn it right away instead of shoving it under the rug, is because you'll actually get clients with it. Because right now I'm building a WordPress with Concordia University, Wisconsin. Our online site is currently a WordPress site. And if someone else needs to change something, like my admissions counselors, they need to change some content, they wouldn't have to call me up and say, how do I get into the file, and how do I edit the markup on page or line 26 of your HTML document. What HTML document it is in, what folder. They can just log into WordPress, and the content management system pulls up the page in a nice graphic user interface, and they get to edit it. Now, what this allows you to do is to create websites for your clients that don't require you to be there full time to manage it. They can update their own site. They can keep it up to date. If you make them a static website, they're gonna probably pay you a lot by having you sit there every week. But one, you're probably gonna get bored of it. Two, they're probably not gonna want to have you sit around that long, and they're gonna get sick of it, and they're gonna hire a firm to do it, to make something that has another kind of CMS behind it, content management system. So as a designer, I suggest learning web design. It's how you're gonna get your voice heard out there. I'd also suggest learning some video stuff because it's really helping me out, but I have a bias. And I'd also suggest learning WordPress.